Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Gamescript. We've got the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are 12.5-point favorites in this one, and this is going to be a dangerous game for the Buffalo Bills, and I'll get into why right after this. There is a ton of value in current underdog playoff best ball ADP. Elite offenses like the Bills are easy to stack. Take advantage of uncertainty and start drafting now. Use the promo code SEEK for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And subscribe to Heat Seeker Sports on YouTube for underdog strategy and drafting shows. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching Gamescript. Got the Buffalo Bills versus the Los Angeles Chargers on Saturday Night Football. We got a 43.5-point total with Buffalo as 12.5-point favorites. But this is a dangerous game for Buffalo. They're playing against a Los Angeles team that just fired their head coach, who was a horrible decision maker. He was a horrible head coach in general, just probably one of the worst out there. And they got rid of him. And they are a team loaded with talent. They just got rid of their head coach. They just got embarrassed by the Las Vegas Raiders, and they are in a spot with their backs against the wall, and their season is over. They got nothing to lose. They got a interim head coach, which has never worked out. For favorites in these games, it never seems to work out. Seems the interim head coach bump in that first game after firing a head coach is always a bad sign for the opposition. And it's just a dangerous game in general for the Bills. And I'll get into it more. But first, hit the like button on this video. I'm looking for 15 likes, so I put out a shorter video tomorrow with the favorite plays for the two-game slate. It's a Saturday night. It's Friday night right now. So I'm recording this on Friday night. So I'm looking to get those 15 likes by Saturday morning so I can put out that video. And like I said, just a dangerous game. Hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. I'm almost at 300 subscribers on that. I'm about 60 short of that. So help me get to 300 before the end of the football season. That was my goal. And sign up for Underdog. Underdog, I have a partnership with them where if you use the promo code SEEK, they're going to match you up to $100 on your first deposit. If you're a first depositor, you create a new account with Underdog, you deposit $100, and they will match you up to $100. So it's for new users on Underdog, and it's a great situation because I'm producing a ton of Underdog playoff best ball content. Playoff best ball is the best ball because you get a payouts throughout the contest. So basically, as your teams advance to the next round, you're getting paid out. And it's not like the regular season best ball where you're waiting the entire season for your bankroll to get freed up. You're getting payouts as the contest goes on. And each week is a week of advancements. So if your team makes it to the next week, you get a bigger payout as the weeks go on. So it's a good setup with Underdog best ball, but also they have pick'em and all sorts of stuff like that you can play too. I'll get into some pick'em contests and stuff like that, maybe when we get into the playoffs. But for now, I'm focused on playoff best ball because it's a ton of value on there right now. And if you watch my shows, I go over all that value and all the benefits of drafting a little bit earlier than normal in playoff best ball. Just SEEK is the promo code, and it'll match you up to $100 on your first deposit. So getting into this game here, we are looking at the Bills versus the Chargers. And as I said, the million-dollar question is going to be, which Josh Allen do we get? Are we going to get the Josh Allen that makes horrible decisions and throws a bunch of interceptions and just makes really just out there decisions in tough times? Or are we going to get the Josh Allen that just dominates the opponent, puts up 40 points, puts up 40 DraftKings points, and just utterly dominates the slate? That's going to be an important question, especially with the situation that they're in tonight. Or on Saturday, their playoff hopes are on the line. They need a win against this Chargers team. And on the surface, it seems like an easy situation. But the fact that they fired the coach, they're a team loaded with talent that has underperformed all year just because mainly the coach, the coach made just boneheaded decisions like left and right. It was always like you could never rely on the Chargers because this coach would just make the dumbest decisions like constantly, and he would always cost games for his team. And now he's gone, and I'm sure the players are going to be relieved, and the players are playing for contracts, they're playing for pride, and they're playing against a tough opponent in Buffalo, but one that they can make a statement against, and they're playing in Los Angeles on top of it. So this is a dangerous game with Buffalo coming in to a road game as 12.5 favorites against a team that's like a wounded animal like the Los Angeles Chargers right now. They are missing Justin Herbert, obviously. Easton Stick is going to be the quarterback, but with these backup quarterbacks, they've been overperforming throughout the entire season, and it's kind of been the story of this 2023 season has been these backup quarterbacks, and it's been these underdogs winning these games. Like there's been a massive there was a massive streak going on these island games where the underdog was winning, and it was good for us because we build these lineups on this show on Gamescript. We're building lineups favoring the underdog on the back half of this show, so we're always covering all the angles on here, and we've not one, but we've gotten a bunch of the game scripts right. Haven't gotten the exact combo of players yet, but had a bunch of top 100 finishes so far this season. Had a top 3 earlier in the season, and just come so close. I'm a guy who's entering only like 5 lineups into the big DraftKings contest. I'm not one of these dudes that's putting in 150 lineups every week. I'm putting like 5 to 10 lineups into these contests and trying to beat these other guys and come very close on many occasions. And I've actually come in first place in a lot of these large field ones, but this season have not hit that first place yet. Third place was the highest that I got so far, but we'll look to change that. And this game, Josh Allen is going to be the highest owned captain. He is not having the best season for Josh Allen, and a lot of that had to do with the way the offense was being run earlier in the season. But they fired the OC, but lately they've been using James Cook a lot more than Josh Allen. But this is a type of game where I think they get back on track with Josh Allen, because look at the matchups that he's had recently. He faced off against Dallas, which is a very tough matchup for a passer. Faced off against Kansas City, that's a tough matchup. The Jets, another tough matchup. Denver has been playing better lately. And then Cincy, Cincy was an easy defense. He had 25 DraftKings points against. He put up 23 against those Jets. He pulled up 43 against an easy matchup against Philly. He put up 21 against Kansas City in a tough matchup, and 16 versus Dallas. So I would not be surprised to see Josh Allen score between the 25 to 35 range in a matchup against the Chargers. It all kind of depends on which Josh Allen is going to show up in this game, and if they decide to continue running the ball in this game and put James Cook to work. But I think it's time for the pendulum to swing a little bit more towards Josh Allen. I think a lot of that running was Josh Allen has been dinged up at least earlier in the season. So maybe they're trying to preserve him for later in the season, but they need this win with the playoffs on the line, and Josh Allen is going to play a major part in this game, obviously. Stefon Diggs has been very down lately. You look at these past 5 weeks, he's only had 1 week over double-digit points. That is very uncharacteristic of Stefon Diggs. He probably eliminated a lot of best ball teams that were riding him from week 10 on, like with putting up 6 DraftKings points, 7 DraftKings points, 6 DraftKings points, and 9 DraftKings points. He had that 19-point game against Philly. I think that he's going to have closer to maybe a 19-point game tonight or against the Chargers on Saturday. But, we'll build lineups in a Bills dominate situation and a Los Angeles pulls off the upset, because those upsets have been happening. And if you've been putting a few lineups with those upsets in, then you have done very well over the past few weeks. Actually, past couple months, honestly. Keenan Allen is out. That is not good for the Chargers. James Cook is the guy that I was referencing earlier. He's been on fire. Look at these points he's putting up. 39 last week, 25 the week before that, 16 the week before that, 19, 16, and then so on. And that's since they got rid of that OC. So they put a bigger emphasis on the run game and getting James Cook involved, and he has been delivering. He had 179 rushing yards last week, but mainly he's been dominating in the passing game. He's getting 3 targets, 5 targets, 7 targets, 4 targets the last 4 weeks, putting up 42 yards, 83 yards, 57 yards, and 29 yards. So he's been heavily used in the passing game, and adding that in on a more consistent basis has definitely helped him with elevating to one of the top scoring fantasy running backs in the game right now. We got Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler has had a very down year, 21 points 2 weeks ago. But other than that, 8 points, 5 points, 10 points, 8 points. Just completely disappointing season by Austin Eckler. He did get hurt. He had an ankle sprain at some point in the season, and it's very difficult for running backs to come back from those high ankle sprains. He did have that little stretch there where he had 20 points 3 weeks in a row against Chicago, the Jets, and Detroit. The Chicago being probably the most difficult run defense in that stretch, and he put up 24 points against them. So he still has upside. Obviously, put up 21 points against Denver, which is a much easier matchup. As far as the Chargers go, the Chargers are giving up 14 DraftKings points a game to the running back position, and the Bills are only giving up 11 points a game to the running back position. So that is a difficult matchup for Austin Eckler, and it's not a great matchup for James Cook. The Chargers have been much better against the run this season, and so that's why I think it's going to swing back to the passing game of Buffalo, because actually, I take that back. Chargers have been giving up 25 DraftKings points a game. I was looking at the wrong thing. So, Chargers are giving up a ton of points to the running back position. So maybe not so good for James Cook, but they're giving up a lot of points to the quarterback position too, giving up 20 DraftKings points a game to the quarterbacks, 23.7 DraftKings points a game to slot receivers, 15 DraftKings points a game to the tight ends, and 14 to wideouts. So Stefon Diggs, he runs a majority of his routes in the slot, where that Chargers are giving up 24 DraftKings points. So that's what I like about the passing game. But don't count out James Cook apparently, because Chargers are giving up 25 DraftKings points a game to running backs. I thought they had that sorted out. But on the opposite side, the Bills are only giving up 10.7 DraftKings points a game to wideouts. That's not good for the passing game of Los Angeles. They're giving up 18 points a game to the quarterback, which is middling, so it's not bad for Easton Stick. 21 points a game to the running back. That's Austin Eckler, but the Bills have been really good against the running back lately. So this is from week 6, those numbers. So they're a little bit better than that 21 point reflection. 19.5 points a game to the slot receivers, and 12.6 points a game to tight end. So, pretty middling matchup for the Chargers, but Buffalo has been good lately. They've held the Chiefs. Let's see what they did with the Chiefs. They held the Chiefs down to 17 points, but the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs this year. The Chiefs are a horrible team this year. Even though they're in first place, I think, but the Chiefs are just a bad team. It's just a bad division this year. That AFC West, all those teams are underperforming this year. Dallas, they beat 31-10. Philly, they lost to Philly 37-34, but they put up 34 points. They put up 32 points against the Jets. So, Kansas City, just putting up 20 points against them. That's a tough defense. It's a lot better defense than it is a offense this year. So those are the matchups basically that we're looking at as far as DraftKings points allowed. If we move on to Easton Stick, he had that middling matchup. Don't really like Easton Stick in this matchup, but I do like him if we're going to be playing the narrative of an upset by the Chargers, because I think Easton Stick, he showed some upside last week in garbage time, at least. 20 DraftKings points is what he scored against the Raiders, which is a tough defense for quarterbacks, actually. But they had to have a 40-point deficit for him to be able to throw enough to get that. Even with that, he only threw 32 attempts, but he did have he only had 2 rushing attempts for 11 yards on top of that. So it was mainly on the back of 3 touchdowns that he threw last week. But I mean, if you think that it's going to be a Los Angeles dominates type of script, then that sets up Easton Stick to have another one of these, like 20-point performances. And if we're looking at his salary, he's under 9K, so that's pretty good for a quarterback lately. Lately, the quarterbacks have been, like in that 9 to 10,000 range. So finding Easton Stick at 8,800 is, like a pretty good matchup, especially if you think he's going to get a lot of garbage time in this game. And the beauty of it is he can get garbage time, or it can be a competitive game. Either way is going to benefit Easton Stick. So it'll fit our game script. He'll fit our game script either way. Joshua Palmer came back last week. He'd been hurt for a while with a shoulder injury, I believe, and he put up 24 DraftKings points. So kind of goes to show how much they missed Josh Palmer. 4 receptions for 113 yards and a touchdown in that game. And I think he pretty much takes over like a lot of that slot work for the Chargers when Keenan Allen is out. So that sets him up nicely, because that is the weak spot of the Bills, where they're allowing that 20 DraftKings points a game. So Josh Palmer is going to be interesting this week. As far as Dalton Kincaid, like I said, the Chargers are giving up points to the tight end, but Dalton Kincaid, ever since Dawson Knox came back, they abandoned that 3 wide receiver sets that they were using. The 3 wide receiver sets is what was used majority. They were using it a lot more when Dawson Knox was out, because when Dawson Knox is back in, they primarily use that 2 tight end sets, and that does not benefit Dalton Kincaid at all. He gets less, like less routes to run, and on top of that, less opportunity. So we want Dawson Knox out for Dalton Kincaid to be fantasy relevant. But like I said, the Chargers are weak against the tight end, so Dalton Kincaid has the potential to put up points in a matchup like this. Targets wise, he got 8 targets in week 14, 6 in week 12, 7 in week 11, 6 against Denver, 11. He's been getting a ton of targets, and that started with week 7. So let's see when Dawson Knox was out, so we can give you a little illustration here. Dawson Knox got hurt on week 7, and he was out until week 14, where he came back. So week 7, he came back week 14. So we compare that to Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid in week 7, he had 15 DraftKings points. That's the game where I believe Dawson Knox got hurt. And when he came back in week 14, he regressed back to seven DraftKings points. He had 8 targets in that first week back for Dawson Knox, but then last week he only had 2 targets. But you look at that stretch, week 7 basically through week 14, and he had 6 targets minimum. Those other games where you see Dawson Knox, he had 2 targets, 5 targets, 2 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets, and then 2 targets again last week against Dallas. So not very beneficial for Dalton Kincaid to have Dawson Knox in, and it switches up their whole offense. And I think that's that on top of the situation with the offensive coordinator is going to help James Cook as well, because 2 tight ends, they're going to be in heavier sets. It's going to help the running back. Let's see, Austin Eckler. We can skip past all these quarterbacks. Go to the Bills defense. If you believe that Easton Stick is going to have a meltdown, then yeah, use the Bills D. They're at 5K. Easton Stick does not have a long track record. I think last week was the first game that he'd started in like maybe his career. Let's take a look at Easton Stick here. So last week, so he started 2 games so far. I'm going to see what his Pro Football Reference says about him. Let me share this with you. All right, we're going to look up Easton Stick. All right, so this is how you can kind of check, what he's done. You go to game logs, go to his career, all games, and as you can see, he had those 2 starts. Other than that, he's had no starts in his entire career since 2020. So he has 2 starts under his belt, and that means that he's got 2 games of tape under his belt plus whatever is in the preseason. And that gives you a little overview on his experience. But Easton Stick, maybe with a couple games under his belt, he's getting more comfortable with the speed of the NFL. And on top of that, he's going to be probably getting a lot of garbage time in this. And if it's competitive, even better for us because it gives us 2 angles for him to have a path to success if we decide to put him in our lineups. So we got Easton Stick. Let's look at Tyler Bass. Tyler Bass, he's had a few good weeks this season, a few weeks over double-digit DraftKings points. Past couple weeks, he hasn't put up a ton, but they dominated Dallas. They didn't really need him, and it was a tight game with low-scoring game with Kansas City. So they were probably, honestly, in that game, they were probably going for it on 4th if they were in that situation because they knew they needed to score more touchdowns. So they're probably more aggressive. With a game like tonight, I would imagine they're not going to be thinking they need to be more aggressive. Versus Miami, when they won 48-20, he had 14 DraftKings points. Versus Washington with 37 points, they had 15 DraftKings points. Versus the Jets, he had 13 DraftKings points. They lost that game. But if we look at all these other stretch of games, they're all relatively close. Jacksonville, 20-25. He only had 2 DraftKings points. 14-9 versus the Giants. They lost 25-29 against New England. Beat Tampa Bay 24 points only. Put up 18 points for Cincy, 22. 32 versus the Jets this time around, and boom, he goes back to 17 DraftKings points. Put up 34 points for Philly, back up to 12. So I don't know. I think in this game, Tyler Bass has the potential to put up some decent points. So I would keep him in mind for that 4,800 range. Dickard, the kicker. I would guess that Los Angeles is going to be pretty aggressive this week. They got nothing to lose. And I don't think that Dicker, the kicker, is going to be a guy that you want in your game script unless you are game scripting it to be a tight game, because that is where I would envision Dicker, the kicker, being used. Otherwise, Chargers are going to be trying to put up as much points as they can, knowing the offense that they're up against. Gerald Everett is, he hasn't been great, and the Bills are only giving up 12.6 DraftKings points a game to the tight end position, so it hasn't been a great matchup, but it's kind of a middling matchup still. But Gerald Everett, even with Parham out last week, he had 8 targets, 5 receptions the past couple weeks. He's put up 9 DraftKings points in each of those contests, but for 4,200, you need more than 9 DraftKings points. If he had scored a touchdown in one of those games, he would have put up 16, so that would have made him a little bit better. Let's find out what the situation is with Parham. I'm not sure if Parham is on injured reserve or if he was just missing that 1 week last week. Yeah, if Parham is back, this week, then yeah, he's not on the injury report, so he'll be back. So that does not help Gerald Everett. Dawson Knox, he is more of a hindrance to our guy Kincaid than he is a factor in these games, but he can put up a touchdown at any point. 3,800 though. You're going to need more points than I think we could get out of Dawson Knox. If he was in that $1,000 range, then he'd be interesting, but I don't like him at 3,800. But he doesn't have a bad matchup if you want to use him. Joshua Kelly. He's been getting more of Austin Eckler's work. Like Kelly and Isaiah Spiller, I believe, have been getting more of Austin Eckler's work. And Eckler's talked about it for the past few years about how he wants guys to help him reduce his workload. Looks like they're doing that this season. And now with the season basically over, I know Austin Eckler is playing for a contract, though, I believe. So, expect him to try to give it everything he can. And I just don't know, still recovering from that high ankle sprain. We saw it with Saquon Barkley last year. Saquon Barkley tried to come back from a high ankle sprain, and he was horrible for a big stretch of games. He ended up coming, having a decent game towards the end of the season, but it takes forever for these running backs to recover from these high ankle sprains. Chargers D, I like them in a script where you think that Josh Allen is going to revert back to the mistakes. I started the Jets defense against Josh Allen in week 1 with that game script in mind, and the Jets defense ended up putting up something like 15 points or something. So it ended up being a huge part of that puzzle. But the Chargers, the same situation. The Chargers have talent on their defense. They just had a shitty coach, and so they have the talent with their pass rush. They have some elements in their secondary that can play well. They have some weak spots for sure, but they have talent on that team. So they have the potential to be able to turn it on and put up a 17-point performance against a team like the Bills. So don't count them out. Khalil Shakir, he's another guy that got hurt by Dawson Knox's return because he was that wide receiver 3 that was getting more work in the slot. And you can see it these last few games, 0 points, 2.2 points. He had that one big week against the Jets where he put up 23.5 points. And then he had a little streak, where he was 9.7, 15. That's the type of performances that you want out of a $3,000 guy. But, lately, he is not getting the work. But Shakir, in that slot matchup where the Chargers are giving up 23.7 DraftKings points, Shakir is definitely an interesting guy tonight, along with Stefon Diggs, who runs 37% of his routes in that slot. Isaiah Spiller, 16 attempts last week. That kind of illustrates to you, the workload getting taken away from Eckler, but of course they were losing 63-21. So it's probably most of that in garbage time and giving Eckler a chance to rest. But the week before that, he still put up 6 rush attempts, also in garbage time, probably because they were beating Denver 24-7. So, yeah, it seems like he gets more work in garbage time, but still pecking away at Eckler's workload, which is the important part of that. Latavius Murray hasn't really done too much. He had that one week where he scored 15 DraftKings points against Denver. I think he caught like a I can't remember if he had a big run or a big catch, but he had 21-yard. I think that was a 21-yard touchdown maybe. But Latavius Murray, I mean, with the way that Cook's been lately, I don't have a lot of interest in Latavius Murray. If Cook gets stopped, if the Bills get stopped in the red zone, I think that's what benefits Murray when they get those goal line opportunities. Cook, I think, has to pretty much score from outside the red zone to get the scoring opportunities, and maybe that's what he's been pulling off lately. I'd have to look and see what kind of touchdowns he's been getting, but yeah, Murray, not a whole lot of interest there, especially the way that Cook's been performing lately. You know what? What was that game? It was against Denver, I think, where they were making a conscious effort to get him touchdowns. I feel like there was a game recently where they were making a conscious effort to get him touchdowns. It was like a revenge game or something. But that might have been this game against Denver, if I'm thinking about it right. But I remember they had a game where they wanted to get Latavius Murray some work against an old team, and I had a lot of Cook, and it was still tilting. But all right, so moving on to, let's see, Alex Erickson is somewhat interesting. With Keenan Allen being out, now Alex Erickson got a decent amount of routes in the slot last week. He got 51% of his routes in the slot, and that's pretty much the weak spot on Buffalo. You got to hit him in the middle of the field. So Alex Erickson, if he's running that much in the slot at 1,800, he's a good salary relief guy. So keep him in mind. And on top of that, he might have a connection with, when did he join the Bills? Or when did he join the Chargers? For the Chargers practice squad. Okay, they elevated him to the active roster on November 25th. So he might have had a few weeks in there, a couple weeks in there with Easton Stick, when they were, doing practice and whatnot. So Alex Erickson, I have to look up his experience with Easton Stick, but that's a good nugget to try to look up to see, how much they work together outside of game time. Guyton came back from an injury a couple weeks ago, but has not really done much. 2 DraftKings points, 1 DraftKings point, 3 DraftKings points, targets, 5 targets, and 6 targets. So not really much to write home about with Jalen Guyton, but he did return recently. He missed the first 9 games of the season. So I don't know if Easton Stick is the guy to elevate him from like his time off, but Jalen Guyton could be a dangerous guy at 1,600. Parham, not really interested there. He'd need 2 touchdowns, I think, pretty much. Hardy, Shakir was getting all of Hardy's work, but if Knox is not good for Shakir, then he's definitely not good for Hardy. So Hardy, maybe a guy to keep off the radar on this one. Smart, not really interested there. Darius Davis, I tried to make him happen a few times, but he hasn't done anything this year. He scored 1 kick return touchdown, And that's about all. They just don't want to use him. But that being said, with this new coaching staff, taking over, they may want to give these young guys a lot of looks. So don't be surprised to see Davis. Don't be surprised to see Stone Smart get some usage. 3 targets last week. 3 targets versus Green Bay. He's had a few games with 3 targets, but I think last week maybe it was more because Parham was out. But if they decide to give these young guys work, don't be surprised to see Stone Smart get some opportunity. But he's still a thin play. Other than that, I don't really see anyone worth dumpster diving for. Yeah, not really seeing much beyond that. So let's build a lineup. I think obviously the chalky lineup is going to have Josh Allen and the captain. Before we get into this, hit that like button, get me up to 15 so we can put up that shorter video tomorrow before lock. And also make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help me get to 300 subscribers. I'm at 240 right now. Just need 60 more. And then sign up for Underdog because you want to do those playoff best ball. We got a ton of content coming out for that. And there's a lot of value in there. I'm going to walk you guys through how to play. I'm going to walk you through the teams to target, all that kind of stuff. And it's a fun game to play. So deposit $100. Open an account first. Deposit $100. For new depositors making their first deposits, they will match you up to $100. Use the promo code SEEK. It's on the graphic underneath me. SEEK, like heat seekers. So that's the code that you want to use. That side. There it is. Right there. All right, guys. So Josh Allen is going to be my first guy that I'm plugging in. And let's look and see what the chalky build looks like. They got Ty Johnson in there. So I don't know why, but let's put him in there. Ty Johnson, not only is he like a questionable guy to put in there, but he's got like 9 attempts, 5 attempts, 6 attempts. He's been getting like decent attempts lately, to be honest, but has not done much with them. As far as targets, he got 2 targets a couple weeks ago. He's been pretty active, more active than I would have thought, but he's 2K, so there's no way I'm gonna plug in Ty Johnson, and he's questionable. So let's find out what his injury is. Shoulder. 26-year-old sustained a shoulder injury during the past Sunday's contest. Still has a chance to play, so keep an eye on that. That might be even better for James Cook if Ty Johnson is out. But Ty Johnson is in that optimal, the one that the optimizer is spitting out. They also like Gerald Everett. Not liking that. They like James Cook. That's a good one. Let's see. James Cook, Bills D, and you can use your imagination for the final spot. 11-7 is the amount left. You can basically put in any guy you want. So that is the optimizer's build. If I was doing this differently, I would take out Everett. I would take out Johnson. Let's put in Diggs. So we got 6,900. That leaves us 3,400 per guy. If we scroll down a little bit, I would use a guy like Erickson. Given the situation on the passing side of the Chargers, that would leave us with 5,100. And at that point, you have options like Tyler Bass, who I talked about earlier. That'd be a 5-1 build with Erickson as the only Charger, which I don't like, but I don't necessarily hate, to be honest with you, because I don't think Eckler's going to have a game. I think Palmer might have a game if he's running a bunch of his routes, but like he's going to be defended pretty heavily because he's basically the only real weapon that they have right now. Quentin Johnson, he's been better these past few weeks, but that's Gabe Davis. Let's see, Quentin Johnson. Quentin Johnson had 10 DraftKings points last week, 12 the week before that, and 10 the week before that. So, these past few weeks, he's been okay, but he's only got 3 targets, 4 targets, 7 targets, put up a touchdown last week. And then prior to that, 91 yards versus Denver, 52 yards versus New England. So he's been doing okay lately, but, he's still, has not really done anything. But he's one of those younger guys that they might give a look to this week. So keep him in mind. Forgot to go over him, but he's only 5,200. That's actually a pretty good price. And Gabe Davis, missed him too. Gabe Davis, he's kind of gotten over those home road splits. At least he did with Philly. He put up 25 DraftKings points against Philly. Now he gets an indoor spot. Let's see how he does on. See if he's played any indoor spots.
Okay, I found this on the web for.
I don't know what the fuck that is. All right, so Gabe Davis is, he's always going to be, one of those interesting guys, especially if you think it's going to be a passing heavy game. But he only had 2 targets against Kansas City, put up 0 DraftKings, 2 weeks in a row with 0 DraftKings points, which, puts him in a pretty good position, actually, like if you wanted to start him at low ownership. So Gabe Davis, definitely a guy to keep on the radar. 5,100 though, we need, an extra 100. I don't mind taking out the Bills. I don't like 5K for that defense. I'd rather put in the kicker, Bass, and that leaves us with Quentin Johnson. We could put him in there, which I don't hate. Getting a second Charger in there, or you could put the Bills D in there and keep it as that 5-1 build, which I don't hate either, honestly. Shakir, another option. So you got some options. There's a decent range there. I would rather try to get to Gabe Davis though. What if we got to Gabe Davis, gave Josh Allen 2 receiving options? That way you have you're left with like Everett. You could put Everett in there, Shakir, guys like that. Allen is capable of propping up 3 guys in the passing game. So, I don't hate Shakir. If we wanted to take Cook out, let's take Cook out of this one. Let's say that Cook isn't used as much as he has been. And let's get Stick in there. Let's say Stick's in there. That leaves us with 5,500. We could give him, let's take Erickson out. Because if I got Stick in there, I don't want necessarily that much exposure. I'm going to put in, let's put in Josh Palmer. Let's get rid of Davis again. That's 2,700 each. Yeah, it's tough to do it with Allen. I think that other direction was a good direction. Let's clear it out. Let's get someone more affordable in there. Let's say we want to use Cook as our captain. He's a little bit more affordable. He's probably going to be highly owned because he's been on a good stretch lately. But let's get Allen in there and Diggs. Let's get Bass in there. Leaves us with 3,900 per guy. So if we go low, let's go back with Alex Erickson. I think he's a good little skeleton key there. 6K. Gives us Gabe Davis as an option. So we can put Gabe Davis in there. That has Josh Allen in there with 2 receivers and not as the captain, which is, like a little bit risky, but you can still have when you have a guy like Cook kind of unlocking that for you. Cook is perfectly capable of putting up enough upside to offset, maybe Josh Allen being the higher raw point scorer. So, I mean, that right there is a pretty good build. Your only Charger in that build is Erickson. But, if you think it's going to be a Bills blowout, then that makes a lot of sense. Let's clear it out. makes a lot of sense because you got Allen throwing to Diggs and Gabe Davis. You got Bass, maybe coming in because like all the PPR that these guys are racking up, they're not getting touchdowns to the receivers. The passing game is not getting touchdowns, but maybe Josh Allen is running a ton and he scores a rushing touchdown, but not enough to propel him into that captain and make it justify his salary. And then you got Cook used throughout the game. He's having success, and maybe he gets a touchdown or two. If they got 3 touchdowns, between them, I would envision them getting 4. I think they're going to at least get 28 points. So I could see Cook in this scenario, in this captain build. Cook gets 2 of those. Allen rushes one in, and then maybe Allen throws one to Gabe Davis or someone, and then Diggs is racking up the PPR points. If it's one of those games where they score like 40 points, or if it'd be 40 points, then maybe Bass gets 4 field goals on top of that. That puts him in there. And the struggling Chargers can't have a single one of their studs putting up more points than Alex Erickson. And let's say Alex Erickson scores like 9 points, 9 DraftKings points, and that's enough to unlock the upside of this Bills stack. So I like that scenario a lot. I could see that playing out in a Bills blowout. So let's go into a shock the world type of build. And in that build, we got Easton Stick is having success, but I don't like Easton Stick as a captain. So let's put Eckler in there. Let's say Eckler, steps up for us. He's pretty cheap relative to where he's been, where we know him at. Josh Allen, highest raw point upside. Let's get Diggs in there too. Then let's get Stick in there. And let's find some more Chargers that we can add to this build. Let's see. Let's swap it out a little bit. Let's get Eckler out of there. Let's put in Palmer. Let's say Palmer's running a decent amount from the slot. Let's say that Diggs is kind of busting. Although I don't think that Diggs is going to bust this week because he has had several bad weeks in a row, and this is the type of game where he's gonna come in and just dominate in prime time. But for the sake of this build, Easton Stick to Palmer. Let's give him Eckler too. That gives us 4,600 per guy. We have Allen in there already. Let's give him Gabe Davis, and that leaves us with 3,400. That gives us Chargers D, which would be perfect in a build like this because they are having success against Allen. Allen is reverting to his mistake-laden ways, and he's only hitting Gabe Davis on the passes that he's forcing to Diggs because Diggs has not been getting stats lately. The Chargers defense is reading those, and they're intercepting it, and they are just on a tear. Revenge game against everyone who doubted them. And the defense is really stepping up with that talent they got. The pass rush is working. The secondary is working. And Josh Allen is making a ton of mistakes. Meanwhile, the offense is going balls out. They're just chucking it to guys like Palmer, and Eckler is stepping up too. That leaves us 3,400, like I said. Yeah, and the Chargers defense fits that build. You could also go with Erickson in a build like that if you wanted to give a second receiver to Easton Stick, but I like the Chargers D in that build much better because I think the Chargers D is going to need to score a touchdown or have some sort of couple turnovers in order for Los Angeles to even be competitive in this game. So I really like that angle on this game. And if we wanted to put maybe Stick in there instead, let's see what we can get with Stick as the captain. If you think Stick pulls it off, 8,800 is pretty cheap for a quarterback, like I said. Let's put him in there with Joshua Palmer. Where are you? There you are. That leaves us with 2,800. 2,800, you get Alex Erickson in there as your last guy. takes away the Chargers defense from us. I like that Josh Palmer captain build a lot more, but I don't hate like a build like this. Let's say we wanted to put, we wouldn't be able to put, Gabe Davis and Stefon Diggs is way too big of a price discrepancy. If we wanted to put in here, let's put Palmer back in there. Palmer's back in there. This could also be a catch-up game. So Allen, let's put Allen in there. Let's put Cook in there. Let's put Stick in there. No, we can't put Stick in there. Let's get Eckler out. Let's put Stick with Quentin Johnson. Leaves us with 3,200. Leaves us with that Chargers build again. This one is more Josh Allen is making mistakes, trying to force it to Diggs. James Cook is still having a game. Easton Stick is throwing to Quentin Johnson and Joshua Palmer. And then we got the Chargers D contributing to it. So this is a close game. It could also be a Chargers coming from behind type of game where the Bills aren't putting up a bunch of points like they normally do, but Josh Allen is still able to be the highest raw points guy, and James Cook is able to continue his performances. So that gives you a Cook angle on that. We did a Diggs angle too. So all sorts of different ways to go in this one. So hit that like button, get me to 15. I'll put out a video on the 2-game slate. If you get me to 15, I'll put out the short video tomorrow morning at some point before the games start. And on top of that, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page, trying to get to 300. I'm at 240 right now. Appreciate the help there. And you want to get the subscribe on there because you want to sign up for alerts for when I put up these videos. I put up the short videos shortly before lock, and you're going to want to get an alert for that. And then on top of that, Underdog, sign up for an account with Underdog, make your first deposit. They're going to match you up to $100. Use the promo code SEEK. You use the promo code SEEK, and they are going to match you up to $100 on your first deposit. And that is it for today, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Actually, no, I'm putting out a full 2-game slate show a little bit later tonight. So I'll see you a little bit later tonight.